Some reports say 45% of people now ask AI assistants to find services. A year ago, that was around 6%.
And when they ask, ChatGPT recommends about 1.2% of businesses.
Ooh.
Everyone else is invisible.
Including possibly that direction, the Zumba business run by the person sitting next to me. Did I aim the right way?
Well, we're about to find out on camera. Then we're going to fix it live with a page builder that went into every Aweber account this week.
That's right. The Shift AI show. This is the Shift AI show presented by Aweber.
Let's do the thing.
Welcome to the Shift. If y'all weren't aware that it's Friday, I think I've made that pretty obvious right up front here, right? Alicia and I were just having a great question about AI in our work lives, and then looked up and realized it was 12:01. So apologies for the wait. That was fully on me. And I'm stumbling my way through our, scripted intro there. But hey, here we are.
Like you said, it's Friday. I'm excited about what we are going to be doing today.
Yeah.
I love any way I can improve my side hustle Zumba business. So I'm excited to see what you've got for me.
That's right. For once, I'm not gonna pick on Chris's dinky brand. We're gonna work on Zumbalicia, your real Zumba instructor business. You remind me, I know you do in-person Zumba in your area. Yeah. Do you do online as well, Zumba classes?
So right now I don't do live virtual classes, and I have the one class that I promote regularly, but I am in the flux of creating a new online program or app, essentially, that I'll be releasing as soon as I can, put my head down on it. But right now, mostly live classes.
I know that free time as a, mother and working professional, right?
Exactly. On my free time, I will get there, I promise. But yes, mostly live classes. I do have my online virtual class. And then I have a new project in the works behind the scenes. So,
well, I hope this is practical and useful, and hopefully helps. I joke with Chris, like, he really should implement some of the stuff that we learned when we use Dinky. Yeah. I hope this is practical in that same way, and I hope that it's clearly applicable for everybody watching too. We did a second episode on AI search visibility in episode 30 a week or two ago, and we got some feedback, like we just want more on that and kind of like more applicable. That was a lot of the like why, and so we're just going to do a quick how today, and it's going to be a very targeted. We're going to use Zumbalicia, Alicia's Zumba business, and we're going to ask ChatGPT. Now, you could be using Perplexity, you could be using Claude. As a business owner, your potential customers are probably using all of the above, so it's worth probably running this through all of them. But we're gonna use ChatGPT for our example today. We're gonna ask it some questions about Zumba, about your business. And we're going to check to understand like what it knows about you. Then we're going to reverse engineer from the answers that it does give, build a new landing page using the page builder, using that content and information. And then we're going to verify it. We're going to give that content back to ChatGPT and see if it can correctly answer the questions that it should be able to about you. And that's kind of our check to see if we got it right. Cool. So let's jump into it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited and nervous to find out what ChatGPT knows about me. But definitely excited to see how the content on my site could improve, because I know it's something I've been wanting to do for a while.
Yeah. No, I get that. All right, here we go. So I'm going to jump into ChatGPT here. Again, like I said, you could be, not just could be, you ought to be using, really, sorry, I apologize. As I'm trying to say this, I'm like, I can't find the tab that I'm actually sharing right now. What on earth? There we are. Okay, here we go. But yeah, you should be doing this in all of them. So first question I'm going to ask, and this is like pretty general, pretty broad, like, unless Alicia has been pouring hours a week into, LLM optimization, I'm guessing it's not going to like surface her as a source. But I'm going to
Oh,
say,
no.
what are the best live? And you did just acknowledge like you're not currently doing live anymore, and you will be eventually. So it's maybe an unfair question. But what are the best live Zumba classes for beginners? Now I'm also unclear. Like I don't know if it's going to give specific instructors. Like it's obviously uh, providing their actual class directory um,
Mhm.
on the actual Zumba website, the official site, some alternatives. But clearly, like you're not surfacing. So when people are
Right.
potentially asking that kind of stuff, and I will say this, like localization matters, especially for a business like yours. So maybe I'd modify that question to be like, what are the best Zumba classes in my area or in this area, or something a little bit more specific to where you may serve an audience.
Mhm.
Actually, let's do that.
Yeah.
Give me, without telling me where you live, what's what's the more general description of your area?
Um, we could just say I'm trying to think of like a good location. I mean, I'm in Western Pennsylvania. I'm trying to like not give my zip code, right?
No, 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 no. Let's go with that. Let's
We
go
can
with that.
start with there. It might end up going more into Pittsburgh in the city, and I'm more like
Yeah,
in the
that's
suburbs.
fine.
But hey,
It's
that's fine.
clearly searching Pittsburgh right now.
Yeah.
Cool. Not a problem. All right. So it's given us more specific answers here. It's not just like an online directory.
Oh
I like
yeah.
this a little bit better. This is a little
Yeah.
bit more practical. It looks like kind of all throughout Western PA area. Obviously, looks a little bit hyper focused around Pittsburgh, but that's expected.
Yeah. Let me get like a. Let me see if I can.
All right. So now so we've got that answer. We're going to use that in a second. But you see that it gave, this is if you're Alicia and you run in-person Zuma classes in this area, you want to show up here because when people are using this as their new search engine, this is how you're going to get that attention, obviously.
Mhm.
Alicia is not present here, I am sorry to say.
Boo.
But we're going to work on that. So I'm going to maintain this. I'm going to keep this because we're going to reference this in a minute as well. I'm going to start a new chat. And this time I'm just going to say, should I try Zoom Alicia for, let's adjust that a little bit, in-person Zuma classes? What do you know about it? And let's see what ChatGPT is able to tell us.
So now it's asking for a location.
Yeah, which I don't necessarily want to give because I'm not in the same location as you, so it's going to mess it up.
Mhm.
We're going to do it with that location. I found the Zoom Alicia you mean run by Alicia. Well, it's got to update your surname, but that's all right. Based on what's publicly available, I think it looks quite promising for someone starting Zumba, with one caveat. There isn't a large body of independent reviews online, so most of what I can verify comes from Alicia's own site rather than Yelp or Google. So right there, it's actually it's giving away some of the sauce that we talked about there.
Yeah.
Where it's saying, I wish I had third-party validation more, right?
Mhm.
So we've talked so much about like those offsite markers are so important. You control what you can on your owned properties, like your website and stuff like that. But some of those third-party markers, like Yelp, Google reviews, things like that, are important. As it's saying right now, because it's saying it wishes it had more of that. The
Mhm.
whole positioning is notably beginner friendly. Move more, feel better, have fun. What makes me lean toward yes,
Ooh.
try a class is that it doesn't look like a hardcore dance studio masquerading as beginner fitness. That's good. That's great.
Hey, I like that.
Mom, the full-time career. So like it knows quite a bit about you. That's not a bad start, right? Like
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
pretty effective at what it does know about you. For whatever reason, it was not terribly interested in including that when we searched before. So maybe it leads a little more understanding of like where you are, who you serve, stuff like that. And that's kind of what we're going to tackle here. So
Cool.
if you could drop it in the chat, if you haven't already, as always, the prompts are in the Megadoc.
Mm-hmm.
That will be in the chat in just a second. But what we're going to do is we're essentially going to kind of reverse engineer some of this content. So you can use the LLM of your choice, your preference. Personally, I really kind of like the way that Claude writes for me. So I am going to use Claude to kind of reverse engineer these topics here. So the first prompt I'm going to take is right out of the Megadoc, and it's under reverse engineer the business AI recommends. And we're going to post that in or paste that in. I can talk Friday. What can I say? And we're going to fill in a few placeholders. Businesses Zoom Alicia. Question customers ask. So this is in this case. Well, in this case, it was literally what we had searched.
Right.
Let me get that verbatim again. I asked for what are the best Zumba classes for beginners in Western PA. So I'll give it that. What the engines answered. And I am quite honestly just going to copy and paste everything that it gave me right into that prompt in Claude. It can look big and blocky and messy. It does not matter. Mm-hmm. I'm also going to go and grab a couple of the links of the pages that it recommended. So I'm taking this Zumba page. You don't need to really see. I'm just copying some of the, well, I should show that actually. So some of these linked sources that it used in its answers, I'm going to just copy those URLs right over into the prompt. Whoops, not as highlighted text. Let me grab a couple more. The more you give it, the better the result. So it understands who you're positioning against, who you're trying to outrank, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Let me grab that one. All right. So I've got 3 of them. I think that's all I saw at a quick glance, so we'll just go with it. We're going to paste in your current page. So ZumbaLisha.com, right?
Yep.
And then it has this prompt for what their job is. It's find the pattern. What do the recommended businesses have on their pages that makes them easy to extract, quote, and recommend? Be specific, point to exact lines. Write me a page spec for my business that follows this pattern that you identify. And it, the elements that it should include. I call this out often. I always like to keep something like this at the end. It's like, keep it honest, only use facts I've given you, mark anything you need from me as need from you. Like, essentially, don't make stuff up to fill in the gaps. Like, not just hallucinate, don't embellish.
Like, tell me where those gaps are, basically. Yeah.
So that's basically it. It's nothing like difficult that you need to fill in. It's literally just what you gave it and what it returned on your initial search. And we're going to get that going. So I'm going to let that run for a second. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to use this to develop a new page using the page builder. Then we're going to test that against the search again. And we're going to see, if AI is able to better answer the things that it needs to know about us from that re-ranking. And then that's the kind of thing that then you want to implement it. And hopefully over time, you begin to rank for those kinds of queries and questions in LLMs. Like I said, you can do now, like we're doing one. What was the question? What are the best beginner courses for Zumba near me or in my area? Like I would personally, there's 2 like kind of like broader level approaches to this. This is an example of one search term and the results that one search engine is providing, right? So if I'm doing this at home, I'm probably running that same exact search term through ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, maybe Gemini. And I'm putting all of those responses into this prompt that I just put here. So that it's kind of trying to please all of them. You know what I mean? Like trying to take all of it into account.
Right.
And then again, that is just one search term. So then I might take another keyword and this is where like I wouldn't constantly be reinventing your homepage per se, but I would ensure that there's either like splash pages or landing pages or additional pages within your site that address each of these search terms.
Yeah.
So
I
like
really love that.
Like it, you know what I mean? So the way I look at this is like you could get lost in it forever, but I would say like you can do this in about a half hour, especially when you get efficient with it. So I would like time box and say once a week, I'm going to find a new search term that people are trying to find my businesses like mine with.
So do you know any ways to identify what those popular searches?
Yeah. So that was the other part I was going to say is if you really want to get more serious about it, I highly recommend, and we've talked about this before, using a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush or Moz. Or sometimes you can even use Google Search Console. It's a little less insightful, but it is free. Google Search Console will show you terms used for people to find you. That might be a little less helpful because it doesn't identify the ones that you didn't appear in. You know what I mean? Right. It just shows you where people are finding you. But tools like Ahrefs, it's like Ahrefs, Moz, M-O-Z, or SEMrush, SEMrush, are all great at keyword research. And that applies. They all have LLM functionality too, so that they can show you, hey, this is this search term. What are the best beginner Zuma classes near me? Has this much search volume on a given month? Has this much competition? And then also like, here's where people ended up clicking over to if they click, which we know with LLM results, they don't always, but if they do, and that'll show you the intent. Like, were they trying to find what you think that question is trying to answer? And you want to identify those terms that there's decent enough volume, but it's not so competitive that it's just going to be the craziest uphill battle to ever rank for it. So you want like medium competition, decent search volume, and then confirming that like where people do go for their answer is relevant to the question.
Right. Okay.
I was trying to think of an example of like the wrong search intent. I don't know, but it's just so like you can get really serious about it, and I don't think it's a bad idea at all. But taking it back a step in that research layer and saying, here are the terms that I want to target, and maybe you do that research one time with one of those tools, and you find 10, and you say over the next 10 weeks, I'm going to take a half hour a week and tackle one of these terms. And again, like I said, that's not you rewriting your homepage every single time, because that's just going to be like chaos and ineffective and undermine results. But ensuring that your site has content on it, whether that's a secondary page or a landing page that's on your domain, that addresses those questions and provides an answer to them that LLMs will want to surface.
Yeah, it's actually really fitting that we're going through this. Because I was going through an exercise over the weekend where I want to get rid of my blog because I just don't do it. I know I'm not going to keep up with it. I just want to get rid of it. But the recommendation was that instead of the blog, have like 5 really good pages that tell about your business, that answer questions just like this. So I'm excited to go through this and find like some keywords and stuff that those pages on my site can answer without needing to keep up with a blog.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, not only is it can tend to be a little more static. So it's like single effort and you don't have to constantly maintain it, but also a lot of the LLMs right now aren't really valuing blogs. Right. So it's a lot of effort to do the blog stuff. And people will go, well, I started using AI to write all my blog content. Well, guess what? The LLMs know that. And they're not favoring that content for obvious reasons. So like blogs matter less. For them to matter, they need to be human content. And that's just time consuming. So it's not like a viable path for most of us.
It's a cool idea.
But creating one-off content that you then let live out there, and maybe you tweak and optimize over time, but yeah, like I love that idea of just it's almost like back in the day with like old school SEO used to be like, have a page for every town in the market that
Yeah,
you you know what I mean? It would be like landscaping for Bryn Mawr, landscaping for Havertown, landscaping for Ardmore. This is more human because you're really trying to address like real issues and questions, but it's being able to make sure that you have content that addresses a whole variety of questions that are related to your services and products. So we ran this through. It gave us this whole page spec of what it wants us to do. There is a whole bunch of need from you, and we'll see if we can kind of like short circuit that because I really don't want to. I really don't want to sit and just manually fill in too much, but let's see here. We're going to copy that page spec out. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take it right back over to.
But one of the things that I'm finding interesting in what I'm reading just in the top thing is it just needs more detail about my classes and offerings, which actually aren't on my website. So,
right.
Right there, I'm like, well, I can see why it needs all of this information because on my website, I don't have where you can find me at live classes and things like that. So already there's an idea on how to improve that. I think I used to.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think, look, that's a great call out and it's identifying that for us, right? Like you convey who you are and the kinds that like it was able to understand like the tone and approach that you take to it. It identified that you were not some like hardcore gym masquerading as a fun beginner's class, and it was right about all that.
Right.
But when it gets into answering specific questions for people looking for Zumba in their area, it's struggling to identify that stuff. And it's not to say that it's not there. Like you've got a thing to go to see my class schedule that's over on Zumba's domain. Understandable. So it's recognizing, okay, there's some stuff that we could do here to make sure that this page really answers what LLMs need to be able to answer in order to favor me as a cited source. Not me, you. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to jump into the page builder. I'm going to see how much of this I can like not fill in the need from you because that's not a lot of fun for people, but it may well impact our results. So I'm going to paste that whole page spec that it gave me. Remind me, can I was trying to remember if I can make this bigger.
You can't drag it yet, but
give it time. We're talking to somebody who has direct control over that. Okay, so beginner Zumba classes in let's just give us a name. It doesn't have to be accurate. Let's just say Pittsburgh. Beginner friendly Zumba classes. I already said. Am I spelling Pittsburgh wrong too? Isn't it like?
No, you got it.
It has an H, right?
So you can just do like Wednesday and Saturday.
From
my site probably doesn't even have my last name either.
Wednesday, Saturday at
9 a.m.
9 a.m. What's your price per class?
Membership of the gym. Membership at the gym.
Yeah. I'm not doing virtual right now, right? Okay, let's see what else does it need. Zoom class.
You kind of already answered it, so you probably don't have to answer it every single time. That's how I would assume if I answered it once.
It should be able to reference where we already did, right? It's a lot of the same. All right, we're just gonna let it run. We're gonna go
like
with
we do with all these demos. When
I
do this live or like for real, I will sit and fill that all out.
Yeah, and anybody using this prompt and following at home, obviously you want to be very explicit with all of your information where you can. So we're gonna let this run. I know that if you've watched the shift, you've seen us use the AI page builder that from Aweber, where Alicia and I both work and presents the shift. But it is now 100% available to everybody, right? A lot of y'all on here, you're like, yeah, we've seen it. We got the link to try it early. It's out. It's available. So it's improved probably from some of the early, early beta testing and stuff like that. And like I shared last episode, like it's just the results are continuously, I don't know.
What you pasted in there. I feel like you must have pasted something extra in there.
Did I paste the wrong prompt? Because as I'm like singing its praises, I'm like, what are we talking about here?
That when we get live, that's what happens. I think you might have
Yeah,
pasted
well,
too much stuff
hey.
in there. Scroll back up to your prompt.
In
Aweber, yeah. Scroll back up. What did you bio FAQ? What's above that?
FAQ. Zumba. This is really interesting.
That's so funny.
All right, you know what? We're gonna try this again. I will say this. I am in one of my test accounts, and I don't know if that's impacting what it's creating. But we're gonna try and start fresh here. This is like I'm gonna go to a test list actually and see if that's any different. All right, so we're back in here. I'm gonna write my own. I'm gonna paste all of that back in. I'm gonna be a little more explicit up here. Create a landing page for Zumba Leisha that an AI engine cites when someone asks best Zumba classes for beginners in Western PA. I'm going to give it, I'll give it a screenshot of your current site, as well as the logo. All right. Let's see if we get a different result. We're going live, so this is, I guess, what happened. That was definitely the weirdest result I've ever gotten out of that.
Was that the prompt?
I just wonder if I should have read my prompt better.
Well, that's what I was just looking at the mega prompt to see, because your prompt feels so much bigger than this one.
Well, no, what I'm putting in. Oh, you know what? This is user error. I didn't.
I did that live in one of the episodes where I was pasting in the wrong.
I just gave it the page spec. I didn't give it. I did it again, so I'm gonna have to start over again. I gave it the page spec. I didn't give it the prompt from the.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Sorry, guys.
Friday.
This is on me.
That's okay.
I just pasted the page spec from Claude. I didn't give it the prompt from the Megadoc. I'm not following my own instructions here. Now I paste the page spec in. Let me find that. Okay. And I will add the logo and a screenshot. And again, they can just get pasted right into the prompt and they'll get attached there. As you can see, I've got a screenshot of the website. I've got the logo. And then I'm going to just quickly give it a couple of those answers again. Wednesday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Cost is gym membership.
We have people in the chat here relating to our user errors here, Jesse. So
man,
we're back. We are all here. We've all done it.
Doing it live.
Hey, this is the reality of working with AI and switching tabs and doing a million things at once.
Well,
right?
I'll tell you what. Yeah, and I'm with Dave. Chris is somewhere just trying to sabotage us here. And yes, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Robin. Um, I I'll be relieved to see when the builder gets it right. And
Yeah,
it was
right.
just me. I would rather I'm the
The
broken
one
link,
doing.
you know? Okay, so yes, and that's what the mega prompt doc is for.
I was looking, I'm like, your problem is way bigger than this.
Oh my gosh, I did not even follow my own process. So let's see what we get now. We're getting close.
It's doing something.
Color palette's already starting to look a little more right. While that's working though, so the next step we're going to do from the mega prompt doc, believe it or not, is once we have this page, I'll publish it. We'll have a URL for it. We'll copy the content and give it to ChatGPT again with the last prompt from the mega prompt doc and verify if it's able to answer the things that we wanted it to be able to answer. And it wasn't necessarily able to at the beginning of this. And I just want to call out too, Dave said earlier too, I think he said he was going to use this process for a local coffee shop client. I love that. Like that's a perfect use case.
Yeah.
You know, look, this is applicable to any service, especially a non-location based service or digital service. You probably should have given it more information, but it's all right. We're still seeing what it can do. But with a localization, you have such a better opportunity to rank for high intent searches.
Yeah, I am definitely excited to do this with like more locally and put in the information and stuff, because I'm already seeing gaps. I'm like, oh wow, I should totally have a page on my site that tells me this. So I mean, if anything, it's definitely sparking a lot of ideas for me.
I'm gonna, while this is finishing building, why don't we for the sake of getting this last bit right, we're gonna start answering the things that it said it still needed.
I was gonna say, do you want to hand it to me and I can type it and fill it out so you don't have to type it live?
We're just gonna say Pittsburgh, Wednesday, Saturday, 9 a.m. Price, membership, first class policy, free.
Sure.
Let me talk to the gym.
I'll get a free pass.
When did you start teaching Zumba?
10 years ago.
What to bring / wear?
Water. Yeah, comfortable shoes, water. And a positive attitude, Jesse.
All right. So once this is done, we'll have an update with that exact information. But you can already tell like the difference here between that and this is not to like shade your current site, but just to show like it's already much more quickly and clearly right towards the start of the page trying to answer a lot of those initial questions, right? Like where here you go quickly into resources, which are awesome, but maybe aren't as digestible for LLMs to quickly go, yep, this has the answer that I'm looking for.
Yep.
Because they're like, that's the one thing about it. Like they're impatient. They want to find the right answer fast because they want to give answers quickly.
Yes.
And give quality answers, but they are looking to move fast.
Yeah.
Right. It needs to be like easily scrapable and consumable for them. So if you look back at what it's building right now, you already see like it's already establishing that it's beginner, like in that eyebrow right away. It's like beginner is in Western PA. The headline, beginner friendly Zumba in, we'll give it a town. It immediately answers in that first subhead when classes are, how much they cost, whether or not you need experience. It offers the schedule and then everything you need to show up. This is essentially like an FAQ for showing up to your first class. And then it continues to get into more. It addresses specific questions. It tells more about you, just like when you've demoed this. It tries to make it has a very specific image of what Zumba instructors look like, apparently.
It really
They're all
does.
very happy, always smiling, never unhappy. So you can already tell some of the strategic changes that it's making in terms of that stuff. Okay, so that's done. So let's ask for this change. We're just going to try and give it some of that more specific content. As soon as that's done, we'll publish in a single click. and then we'll copy that content, take it back to the ChatGPT, and see if it's able to answer what we want it to.
Yeah, and like what's interesting here too is depending on the search terms and keywords that I'd be looking after and whatnot, maybe this isn't my homepage and maybe it's just a page on my site that has a
Yes.
header that matches this. Because I could see like I don't know if I'd want this to be my homepage, but I could totally have a live class button at the top that just had this H1 tag, all the
Yes.
details it needs.
And I would even argue like these don't even necessarily have to be linked into like your navigable site structure.
Oh, sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like you could approach it that way, but you could also just be creating like on your primary domain, because it needs to be connected to your domain for that authority.
Mhm.
But just these could be one-off pages aimed at
Answering a specific
being
question.
cited for LLMs for specific
Yeah.
search questions.
Right.
And that's what I mean, where like we've covered the episodes where you like redo your homepage content, and that should happen. People should make sure that their homepage content is in a good place, but that's going to be broader. You're trying to
Yeah.
answer a much broader set of questions there, so you can't be as targeted and specific. But when you say somebody's saying, what's the best beginner Zumba class near me? You want to make sure that you're being surfaced for
Answering
that.
that question. Yeah.
What's you know, I don't know. You would know better than I do what some other search terms are. Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, those tools will know which ones people are actually searching for. So absolutely rely on those. But any of those kinds of questions, you can create a super targeted page.
Yeah. Like for example, I know like a top question I know people ask about Zumba is like, will Zumba help me lose weight? So like for me, like I can see that being like a page where I can ask questions. Like what if somebody searches like, will Zumba help me lose weight?
Yeah.
I want my content to show up in that search result. So I could, follow this process for that same search term and make sure I'm answering those questions on my site.
Yeah, exactly. And Robin just confirmed it too. She said her ChatGPT said to have several pages with different important searchable content, like just like what you're saying. So
Awesome.
Absolutely same concept, same idea. And I'm happy to see that that's working and giving you some insight, Robin.
Yeah.
So I make sure I don't think I missed any questions other than just the community's emotional support as I stumbled my way through the prompts. Thank you all. It's just like I was watching something on LinkedIn where somebody said inserting typos in your content is like proof that you're human. So now y'all know that I'm not like some AI bot. I'm a very real person and I make very real human mistakes.
Yeah, as we all do.
All right, cool. So like, yeah. And like Dave's saying, we could probably just publish this, give it the URL, but I'm just going to, for the sake of like being super certain, I'm going to go ahead, publishing it just like that. I'm not going to worry about like a real URL because that's not the point right now. And we're just going to copy all of this info. Actually, first, let me copy the prompt before I mess that up again. So I'm going to go back to the mega prompt, and I'm taking this last prompt here, the extractability test. We're going to take that. We're going to go back to ChatGPT. I'm going to drop that prompt in. And I'm basically saying, using only this page, answer these 4 questions. Who's this business for? What does it cost? When and how does it happen? Should I pick them over the alternatives? If you can't answer any of these from the page alone, tell me exactly what's missing. And then lastly, I will take, quite honestly, I'm just going to, for the sake of this prompt, just copy all of the content on here. And I'm going to paste that.
Have you tried sharing a link yet?
I haven't tried it that way. We could try that after and see. I bet it would work as well.
Yeah. Because if we're just scraping the copy, we should probably be okay. But yes, try it like this. You already got it in there.
Correct. Yeah. We'll give it this. I'm sure that it could scrape it, and that's a much more like efficient way. But this way, I know that I'm containing it to just what I give it.
Of course.
And like maybe that's my own like cynicism too. But like I don't want it to like try to answer outside of like anything else on the domain or whatever.
Yeah.
Like literally just from what I give you, can you answer what I want you to? Okay. So based on the page, here's what I'd understand. Who it's for. This is for beginners and all level Zumba participants in the Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania area, especially people who may feel intimidated about trying Zumba for the first time. Fair?
So far.
You don't
Yeah.
need dance
Nope.
experience or do you already be in shape? Alicia teases a basic version of each move first, then adds options for people who want more. You can go at your own pace. This is answered well. Okay, good. What does it cost? Your first class is free. After that, Zumba classes are included with your gym membership with no separate class fee, class pack, or drop-in charge. What's missing? The page never says what gym membership is required or what membership.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fair. But you and I were also trying not to be like, this is Alicia's address. This is where she works. Stop by. I mean, we love and trust y'all, but this is open to the internet. Okay, so that's fair. I have no problem with like that gap, right? When and how does this happen? Classes happen in person in Pittsburgh, PA every Wednesday and Saturday at 9 a.m. Based on what we gave it, that is accurate. Right. There is no virtual option. For your first class, you can simply show up. No pre-registration is required. Wear comfortable clothes and bring water. Major missing piece. I don't know where to go. Yeah. Again, we didn't provide that. Don't care. Why should I pick them over the alternatives? The strongest reason I can get from the page are they're designed to be beginner friendly. They're low risk to try. It's an experienced instructor, approachable teaching style, and no extra class fee. I think, like, would you change anything about that? Like, what would you say is missing from that?
It's feeling pretty accurate.
Okay.
I mean, like, there's a couple things that, like, it's just details that I didn't give it. You know what I mean? As far as like the free class, pre-registration, I'd add more instructions about there. I like adding like class size and things like that because I think that can help people like push themselves, like picture themselves in there. I love that it says that it's my philosophy is making complicated things feel simple.
It's kind of what you do at work. What I really like here too is it even calls out, like, it's honest. It's like the differentiating why you over the alternatives is like the weakest point. And frankly, it just means like we need to double down. Yeah. So like it's recommending I'd add a short section immediately before your instructor that gives 2 to 3 concrete differentiators. For example, class size, teaching approach, community or vibe, how much instruction beginners receive, whether Alicia learns students' names, what makes her class different from a typical gym Zumba class. And like, honestly, I think one way that you could answer some of this stuff, the differentiator, is we didn't include like testimonials or feedback from like actual students. And you could probably accomplish a lot of what it's asking by giving it like, as you've demonstrated in the past, like targeted testimonials that answer specific questions. I think that'd probably be a good way of validating and answering why you versus, you know, why somebody else. You could also introduce like other trust elements, like we've talked about. Like it could be, you know, Alicia, who's been doing this for 10 years and taught over 1,000 courses in this many students, or, you know, what, like, or classes in this many students, or whatever it might be, some kind of validating factor of why you are maybe more credible or worth like trusting your first class experience with than somebody else. But I think all in all, like, we now know that you have this page published and ready to go. That also like just bluntly like looks good.
Has my logo on there. It feels pretty
polished, high fidelity.
I love that it has the FAQ on it and stuff. This is like getting me really pumped to want to like actually fill this out and do it.
And listen, I'm dead serious. Like, I think people should like choose your research tool for keyword research or like search term research. And just find like the 10 that you think have that right balance of like, there's volume, so there's opportunity. In other words, like search volume, people are actually searching for this, and there's not insane competition. You're going to have a better, like, if you have a localized business, that's going to be an easier task for you. If you do not have a localized business, that can be more complicated. But once you identify those 10 terms, like, just put them on your calendar and say like, okay, look, we're 45 minutes into this show. You could do this in a half hour, especially if you actually follow the prompts and the mega prompt. You don't waste 10 minutes just trying to figure out why it built a page about, I don't know what that was about. But Dave says that you're differentiators because of this school. I don't disagree, but I think we need like more, you know, maybe metrics behind that or something. No, but you know what I mean? Like, and then just put it on your calendar and say a half hour a week, I'm going to create one landing page for my site that addresses this term. And then once you get through those 10, you can either decide to
Be done.
go find more,
Mhm.
or say like, okay, now I'm going to go back to the first one. How is it performing? Am I getting cited? Am I getting, and make optimizations. Maybe you run it back through and say, take another pass at this. Is there anything that you would change now that 10 weeks have passed? But I think it's just a low effort way of being able to really quickly identify what you need to be answering in order to be a citation source in these LLMs: ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, Claude.
Yeah. And I really like the idea too of just like, you can even have Claude or ChatGPT add items to your calendar if you have your Google Calendar connected. But just like that 30 minutes of accountability to just like do something, that first one might be a little more of a scramble trying to get down the flow, but like, it seems like an exercise that would just make your site more well-rounded.
And Robin asked a question. If all of us here on our AIs and ask for a recommendation for Zoom in Western PA, best one, and why this one, now will these searches help her site? First of all,
Let's
go
try
help Alicia rank. I love it. So yes, like traditional search, like Google, chat, those LLMs, whatever you're using to search, if they provide a citation and you click through to it, that's a positive signal to them where they go, okay, that was a worthwhile citation, so let's remember that. You have to be discoverable to begin with. So it has to include you to begin with for that to help. Searching that term and Alicia not showing up is not going to do any benefit necessarily to Alicia. It will make search volume go up, at least momentarily. But yeah, the first step is ensuring that these LLMs are choosing you as a source. The second step is ensuring that when people see you as a source, hopefully decide to click through. Although, like we said, that's 1.2%. What is it? No, 1.2% are being used as citations. Even less are actually clicking through, because so many people are just getting their answer now. But if they are clicking through, ensuring that they really are finding what they want to find. So again, that's that on-page optimization as well.
Making sure when they get there that they're actually getting the information they need and don't want to leave and go back.
And Dave asked, and to the contrary, can competitors flood AI with false bad reviews? Yeah, that's not new. Bad actors can always try to use bad practices to get ahead. But again, like just like Google in the old days before AI, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Perplexity, whoever, they want you to continue using their tool. So their aim is to give you good responses with credible sources so that you go, yeah, I always find the answer I need using that tool. So like, they're not like trying to play a game with you. They want to surface stuff. So they take active measures to ensure that, reviews aren't getting spammed with fake negative reviews, things like that, that they're not leaning on those things if there, seems to be nefarious, stuff at play. So, and yeah, people can always do what they want, but they are actively trying to give you the best possible responses so that you continue to use their platform. Okay, that went a little bit longer than usual, mostly because, well, it's Friday and I clearly have Friday brain on. So apologies to everybody. This has been fun though. I really hope most of all, like, I think we talked on episode 30 a lot more about kind of like the why when it comes to AI search. And if you haven't watched that one, I do think it's foundationally good to understand what you need to be doing, like more holistically to begin to rank for AI search, as well as episode 15. We talk about that. But I hope that this is a little bit more just hands-on practical, one thing you can do every week to begin to get that long tail effect over time. It's not going to be an overnight switch. None of this stuff is when it comes to search. But hopefully it's just one tactic that you can take on a weekly basis without having to, like I said, Alicia and I talk about this a lot. y'all did not get into your business, the business that you currently run, to be to necessarily want to be marketers or search engine optimization experts or anything like that. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that we're using AI in the right way to help lighten that lift and lighten that load. All right. I think I've talked enough. Alicia, anything that you think we should hit on before we say goodbye and let everybody get back to their weekends?
No, other than I hope others are as inspired as I am right now. I'm sitting here like, I need to update my website, like taking notes on the pad. I'm just like, things that I've always, I knew I've been needing to do things like this, but when you can see how easy it is and you're like, oh, it really just does take a half hour. I'm like planning my weekend around this.
Yeah. Well, and I hope everybody here just like once a week for the next month searches that exact term for like beginner Zumba classes in Western PA until we find you. We'll keep you accountable by searching that volume.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate you spending your time with us and being extra patient today. It is always a lot of fun. And as always, we'll be back on Tuesday next week at noon Eastern time. Chris will be back with us. Alicia will be enjoying some well-deserved family time off. So enjoy that. And again, like you're becoming just a regular part of this. It's not like filling in anymore, but thank you for being here this past week. It's been a lot of fun.
So fun. Yep.
All right. Take care, y'all.
Yeah.